You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. Bitcoin, Ether, Solana, Doge, and more. Cryptocurrencies and digital assets are taking the financial world by storm. This exploding market provides everything a savvy trader needs: volatility, volume, and liquidity, provided you know how to find it. That's where we come in. Welcome to the Crypto Rundown. Each week, we'll break down the latest trading activity, trends, and developments throughout the world's leading crypto derivatives markets. If it's moving the crypto markets, then you'll find it on the Crypto Rundown. The Crypto Rundown is brought to you by Amber Data. If you're entering the digital asset class, you'll need access to granular on-chain and market data from multiple venues to power research, trading, risk management, and compliance. Amber Data delivers comprehensive data and insights into blockchain networks, crypto markets, and decentralized finance, empowering financial institutions to apply traditional finance methods to digital assets. Amber Data eliminates the infrastructure setup, integration challenges, and maintenance headaches to access digital asset data, reducing cost and time to market to enter the digital asset class. Learn more and download their digital asset data guide at www.amberdata.io. Now it's time to dive into the exploding world of crypto derivatives. It's time for the Crypto Rundown.
All right, everybody. That music means we are back once again. Time for a little bit of the old Monday dose of crypto. Yes, it is time, indeed, for the Crypto Rundown. My name, of course, Mark Longo from the THE, OptionsInsider.com, as well as from the network upon which so many of you have been binging. Apologize to all of you who were jonesing for your Crypto Rundown fix. Crypto Rundown gets hit sometimes with the Monday hammer. Sometimes things happen and things go on the network and traveling for other things or panels or things like that. So it happened last week, of course, but we're back in the old crypto hot seat this week. Well, not literally. We had a guest lined up as well for the old crypto hot seat, but as happens sometimes, schedules get flummoxed. So we'll rotate them onto the show again going forward. Meanwhile, though, we're going to do a nice, fun, just the facts, ma'am edition, because a lot going on in the world of crypto, from a volatility, from a skew, from all sorts of fun perspectives. So we're going to crunch it all on the show today and a whole bunch more. Remember, you like what you hear, this show, anything else on the network, and man, you should be listening to the full network. If you just listen to the Crypto Rundown, you're missing out on a heck of a lot. We do touch on crypto on other programs out there, including This Week in Futures Options, sometimes on Vol Views, maybe a lot, actually, on the Advisors option, where I'm joined by Mr. Matt from Orats. He and I, and Mr. Bill from this program, he's been on many times on the hot seat, did a great panel on Navy Pier years ago, early on in the first wave of I'd say the modern crypto boom, post-2017, really. I think we did that around that time, 2017, 2018, so it's been fascinating to see the evolution on that front. So the Advisors option, rarely enough and weirdly enough, has a lot of crypto derivatives content there as well. So check out the full network. Of course, great educational content like Options Bootcamp, Options Playbook Radio. And then, of course, if you want to go above and beyond, 300 plus episodes, including I had my buddy, Mr. Greg Magadini from this show, join me on the in-person panel that we did at the Securities Traders Association conference just a couple of weeks ago here in Chicago. In frigid Siberia, I made poor Greg fly in. He really appreciated it. We had a great chat about crypto derivatives on that session as well. That will be available, maybe even as we speak, on the Pro, theoptionsinsider.com/pro is the place to go to learn more about that. As we learn more about what's going on in the world of Bitcoin, it is time for the Bitcoin Breakdown.
It's time to explore the latest trending activity, trends, and developments across the world's leading crypto market. It's time for the Bitcoin Breakdown.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Bitcoin Breakdown, the portion of the show where we do just that. We break down all the action lighting up the tape in the world of the leading digital asset. We're talking about the big dog, which is Bitcoin, looking a little bit bigger since our last show, which again was 2 weeks ago. And I said on our last show, I have not seen a better recent example of the old buy the rumor, sell the fact trade than the run-up leading into the Bitcoin ETF approvals, and then the subsequent massive sell-off and bloodletting across the board in Bitcoin and most other leading crypto assets as well, post-ETF approval. We're starting to see the worm turn a little bit out there. As we kicked off the show, Bitcoin hovering a little bit shy of 43,000, 42,775. That puts it up a wee bit from where it was 2 weeks ago. In fact, this time on the show 2 weeks ago, we were threatening 40K in the wrong direction, 40,100, just teetering right on the precipice during our show. So that puts us up a whopping 2,675 handles from where we were this time 2 weeks ago. Is the worm turning? I'll leave that up to you out there. The low came almost immediately after our show 2 weeks ago, came on Tuesday, January 23rd, where we did break the 40K level, got all the way down to 38,522 before recovering. The high came exactly a week later on January 30th of 43,839. So a fair amount of living we've done over the past couple of weeks, even if it's not reflected in the vol. Let's get out there now, listeners. And of course, you want to see these vol numbers for yourselves, get on over to Greg's platform, amberdata.io, the place to go to kick the tires and light the fires. And as we see on the old vol front, I think to put it mildly, vol has come in quite a bit. We were looking at some impressive levels on our last show, threatening triple digits again in Bitcoin vol. It's been a while since we've seen vol levels like that. We have to go back a few years till the last time Bitcoin was really threatening triple-digit vol, back when Bitcoin and crypto were synonymous with volatility. Shows like Silicon Valley can make a whole plot point out of the seeming volatility of Bitcoin. These days, not so much, but of course, a couple of weeks ago, that wasn't the case. We were threatening in the weekly vol, in the 7-day vol, so the very near-dated stuff, which is where, of course, everyone is fixated these days. The weekly vol was looking nearly triple digits itself, 87. Looking pretty robust. That has come in almost exactly 50 points over the past 2 weeks, down to a 38, down 49 points over the subsequent 2 weeks. So near dated vol implosion. Yeah, I think you could say that out there. Going out a little bit farther to a more standard metric for measuring vol, 30 days. We were threatening a 70 at that level as well, 68.5. That's come in over 28 points. We're down to about exactly a 40 at the start of the show this week. So coming in, again, 28.5 points. So again, a little bit of the old vol crush, which again, we've had the big event now. We've seen the sell-off. The sell-off seems to have mitigated. So you would expect some of that vol to come off the top, and that's pretty much what we're seeing. Going out a little bit farther, 6 months, 180 days, you expect calmer, cooler, saner heads that far out, and that is indeed the case. It was a 64 on our last show, 51.5, so still frothy. In fact, quite a bit frothy, 11.5 points more than 30-day vol, and quite a bit more, 13.5 points more than the 7-day vol. Let's go out to the Skew, which again was kind of all over the place on our last few shows. We were obviously looking biased to the upside leading into the approval, coming out of the approval, Bitcoin falling out of bed, 7,000 handles, obviously heavily biased to the downside. Coming into the start of the show now, we're seeing Skew pretty flat across the board. It's exactly flat in the weekly Skew. It was about a -5 on our last show. So 2 weeks ago, people were still pretty heavily biased to the downside in the near-dated options. Going out about 30 days, we were about a -2. Still biased to the downside, but a little bit closer to flat. And this week, it's a positive, but ever so slightly positive, about 2/3 of a point. So I would pretty much call that flat. So pretty much flat on the 30-day now, and -2, close to flat last show as well. Going out 180 days, get a little bit more bias to the upside, which is kind of interesting. Maybe, again, some signs that the worm is turning again out there. It was positive 2.1 on the show last week. This week, positive 4.1. They like the 0.1s in the longer term vol. So up exactly 2 points in the intervening couple of weeks. What is not up in the last couple of weeks is the OI out there on Deribit. Seeing a lot of paper coming off the board. Of course, that makes sense. Again, heading into the expiration for January, and then now coming into the first week of February, we have seen the January expiration, a lot of that OI roll off the board. We've yet to really replace it yet as a result. 150,000 calls open on Deribit. That's down 39,000. And the puts are 67,000, down 12,000 from this time last week. So down pretty much across the board on the OI front. That is not the case, though, when we go out to some of the products you folks like to sling for a little bit of crypto options goodness in your securities account. Let's start with BITO. BITO up about a point, actually exactly a point from our last show. It was a 19.3 2 weeks ago, 20.3 this week, so ticking up a point. The average daily volume still looking pretty robust out there at about an 82. That's about 82,000, obviously. That's up about 2,000 contracts. So still managing to keep that fairly frothy volume level that it had going into the ETF announcement. Not so much today, only 21,000 on the tape today. So probably going to see that ADV come in over the course of the next week, at least if these numbers are going to be maintained. The vol also, interestingly enough, at about a 50. That's unched from where it was 2 weeks ago. So 30-day vol out on Deribit is at about a 40. And looking at the BITO, it's still at about a 50. So 10 vol points between BITO and the derivatives over there on Deribit. So kind of funky if you have the ability to trade both. Might be some intriguing vol spreads to be had out there. Speaking of intriguing, the top size position in BITO options right now remains the upside. It's the Jan 2025 30 calls. Remember I said coming into today we're at a 20.3. So almost exactly 10 points out of the money. 102,000 of those. So a pretty sizable position there on the 30s. When we make 30 by a year from now, it's certainly not outside the realm of possibility. We've moved more than that just in the last couple of months. So a whole year from now certainly could be there or could be back down or anywhere in between. As I've said before, I mean, if you're just loading up on upside calls on BITO, you are missing out on that very juicy dividend, which is a key part of the revenue stream for that product. So I'm looking at the dividend history right now. They had, obviously, it's correlated to what's going on in the futures. They paid a 14, almost 15 cent dividend in December, no dividend in January, and then a pretty hefty 35-cent dividend for February 1st. So, again, if you're missing out on this dividend stream, it's pretty sizable. So showing here the annual dividend for BITO is $4.27. That adds up over time. So if you're just loading up on the upside calls, you are missing out on that chunk. Just something to be cognizant of here. In terms of other products, let's go out to Mara. Mara was at a 17 when we kicked off the show, up 1.2 handles from our last show. The ADV, 470,000, down about 136,000 from this time 2 weeks ago. Again, we have seen a lot going on in that space. And, you know, some of the bloom maybe coming off the rose. This thing was over 600,000 contracts a day not too long ago. These days, obviously, post approval for the ETF, some of that bloom coming off the rose, but still nearly 500,000 contracts. That is nothing to sneeze at. By way of comparison, VIX is somewhere around 630 to 670 this time of year. So not far off of a product like VIX. That's nothing to sneeze at in the options world. Today, looking a little bit lighter, 189,000 contracts on the tape right now. So intriguing stuff. The vol is still looking frothy out there. 110, pretty much unched compared to what it was 2 weeks ago. And in terms of top positions, the March 17 puts, 32,000 of those open right now for the number one spot, followed by number two, the March 17 calls, almost 31,000 of those. That could be a number of things. That could be a straddle out there. I mean, again, we are hanging out at a 17, so that's the at the money strike right now. It could be a synthetic, someone using the underlying to replicate, or using the options, I should say, to replicate a synthetic position in the underlying, long, Mara underlying, short, depending on how they're setting it up. So a lot of things they could be using out there for that 17, but still 62, almost 63,000 contracts open on that 17 strike in March. So definitely a strike you want to pay attention to going forward. Beyond that, we have 23,000 of the Jan 10s expiring next year. So intriguing stuff afoot. Speaking of intriguing, let's see if the game is afoot out there in the altcoin universe.
It's time to move beyond Bitcoin and find out what's moving the rest of the crypto marketplace. It's time to boldly venture into the altcoin universe.
All right, everybody, welcome to the altcoin universe, the portion of the show where we break down everything lighting it up out there outside of the big dog, which is Bitcoin, except for right now when we see what's lighting up the top 10 out there, listeners. And you know what? It's been a couple of weeks. Got some shakeups here in our top 10, listeners. Let's get to it. Number 10, 11.3 billion. That's what it cost you to break into our top 10 this week, listeners. That gets you all the way to Chainlink. I have a feeling some folks listening to this are going to be happy. Some folks like Mr. Musk, perhaps, not going to be too happy when they hear our top 10 this week. Number 10, Chainlink breaking into the top 10. It's been a while since we talked about Chainlink on the show. Number 9, right behind it, our former number 10, we have Avalanche at 12.7, almost 12.8 billion worth of market cap. And then number 8, you'll notice something's missing in this bottom 3 here. Number 8 is Cardano, 17.5 billion. What did I skip over? What am I missing? Well, of course, our old friend Doge. Doge has been a perennial top 10er pretty much since we launched the show. So certainly it's been clinging. It was at number 8 forever. And it seems like nothing could dislodge it. It got to number 9. Then it was hanging out finally at number 10. Now, Doge, kick to the curb. Some folks will love that. Others, like Mr. Musk, perhaps not so much. Either way, number 8, Cardano, 17.5 billion. Number 7, USD Coin, 27 billion. Number 6, XRP, 27.7 billion. Number 5, Solana, 42 billion. Number 4, BNB, 45 billion. Number 3, it's Tether, 96 billion. Number 2, it's ETH, 277.25 billion. And number 1, the big dog, which is Bitcoin, 839 billion worth of market cap. So getting dangerously close once again to that 1T level. Will we break it anytime soon? I suppose we shall find out. But now we have to turn our attention to the number 2 in the crypto ecosystem. Number 1 in a lot of your hearts, it is ETH. Coming in to start the show almost exactly 2,300 again, 2,302. That actually puts it down a whopping 19 handles from where we were this time 2 weeks ago at a 2321. So net, not a heck of a lot of evolution, even though we did do a little bit more living outside of that. The high came actually during our show 2 weeks ago, I should say, 2463. So that was a wild day back on the 22nd. We were at 2,300 at showtime. We hit a high of 2463 intraday. And then the low came the next day, the 23rd, so a wild 24 hours, really, of 2167, almost a 300-point range in the span of that 24-hour period, which, again, is a lot for ETH. So intriguing stuff, and all of that to net out at pretty much almost exactly unched over the past couple of weeks. As a result, you won't be surprised to hear me say the vol coming in a little bit in ETH this week. Let's start in 7-day, as we are wont to do, and move our way out. Last show, ETH vol was cooking. It was popping, 84.5. This show, not so much, 38.15 to be precise out there. So coming in a wee bit over the last couple of weeks. A same deal on the more standard 30-day vol metric. Last show was a whopping 70. This show, a little bit north of 40, about 40.25. So coming in almost exactly 30 points. That's a lot on the vol front. And again, going out farther, going out 6 months, we had, again, same vol level, 30-day and 60-day 2 weeks ago. They're both at a 70. Right now, 180-day vol, 53.25, listeners. So coming in across the board there as well. Skew-wise, obviously a lot of things, especially in the near-dated stuff, we're looking a little bit biased to the downside. Almost -5 on the 7-day skew, -4.7. And this show, still negative, but -0.5. So pretty much I would put that in the flat category. So seems like in the near-dated contracts, people are settling out around these levels. Last show, 30-day skew was actually mildly positive, which is interesting, seeing such a dichotomy between the weekly and the monthly. We had a 7-day skew, almost a -5, and the monthly skew was about a 3.25, positive 3.25, which is interesting. This week, that's all gone. The 30-day skew is now flat as well. So flat in the weekly, flat in the 30-day/monthly skew. So again, options showing us maybe we're going to be vacillating around this 2,300 level for a little while, at least for the next week to month or so. And then, of course, going out a little bit farther, going out to the 180-day skew, almost a +1 on our last show. This week, about a positive 4 1/3. So things looking up, at least from a vol perspective. You go a little bit farther out, 180 days. Again, what is not looking up is the OI on ETH. Same deal, Jan rolling off the board, taking a lot of OI with it. It's only a week into February. Really haven't had time to rebuild it yet. 1.85 million calls open on Deribit right now. It's down about exactly 400,000 from what it was 2 weeks ago. The puts, 581,000, down about 89,000 on the show here for the last couple of weeks. Let's run through some of the other altcoin universe, and we'll get out of here for this week. Kind of just the facts, ma'am edition. Remember, we'll have the crypto hot seat and more in future episodes here. Let's go out to everyone's favorite, maybe your least favorite, I don't know, Solana, certainly a controversial one. On our last show on January 22nd, it was about an 83 3/4 coming in to start the show today, 96.12, up a little over 12, about 12 1/3 handles from where it was this time 2 weeks ago. Again, you don't need me to tell you the just parabolic trajectory that Solana has been on for the better part of the last 3 to 4 months. Fascinating to watch the resurgence of that product out there. XRP, can't say the same. 52.7 on our last show 2 weeks ago, 50.8, so actually down almost 2 cents. XRP cannot get out of its own way. I feel for you all, you XRP holders. You've been doing so for some time. It wasn't that long ago everyone was telling us in the early days of the futures listing in 2017, what I tend to call the modern incarnation of crypto for a lot of you out there. You got to get on Kraken so you can get in on the Ripple. That was the hot trade everyone had to do. And unfortunately, you had that brief stint to the upside. I think it got to what, 3.5, something along those lines. And then it's never really sniffed it again, due to all this legal activity swirling around it for the last few years. Doge, everyone's favorite. One of the reasons why it slipped out of the top 10. 8.1 cents 2 weeks ago, 7.8 cents this week. That's that 0.03. Just an actually 0.03. Just enough. 0.003 to be precise. Excuse me. Get my decimal points right. 0.003. Just enough to knock us down a peg here. And Litecoin, 67 and about a half on our last show. 67, a little bit north of 3/4. This week's up about 1/3 of a buck over the last couple of weeks. Cardano, 48.1 cents 2 weeks ago, 49.4 cents. So up about 1 1/3 cents on the last couple of weeks. Polkadot, 640 2 weeks ago, 681, so up about 41 cents. Nice little pop for you Polkadot holders out there. And everyone's favorite, Shiba Inu, a million zeros, 895 on our last show. Coming into this show, 891, so kind of treading water out there in Shiba land as well. All right, and that music means we've come to the end of another epic sojourn through the world of all things crypto. Thank you for joining us. Remember, if you have questions about crypto derivatives or anything else like that, make sure you join us for our pro Q&A session. Got a great one coming up tomorrow with our good buddy, Mr. Scott Nations. He's created 1 or 2 or perhaps half a dozen vol-oriented products, traded a bunch more. And of course, he's been known to dabble in the world of crypto and talk about crypto vol. So if you have questions for him along those lines, only one place to go to get them answered. TheOptionsInsider.com/pro is the place to go. That'll be hitting the pro side of the network and the exclusive podcast feed tomorrow. I'll also be joining our buddy, Mr. Bill Ulivari. He has his own show. It's called The Blockchain Advisor. I'll be joining him on that tomorrow. That's February 6th, listeners, if you're listening after the fact. 2:30 p.m. Central is when that show. I'm not sure if he does it live or live to tape, but either way, check out The Blockchain Advisor. Me and Mr. Bill shall be chatting a little bit of the old crypto, some vol, all sorts of fun on that show tomorrow. Who knows what mischief we'll get up to. You should check it out if you don't already subscribe to Bill's show. Then, of course, back throughout the rest of the week with our usual array of content until we're back again next Monday. Another episode of the Crypto Rundown. Stay safe out there, everybody.
The Crypto Rundown is brought to you by Amber Data. If you're entering the digital asset class, you'll need access to granular on-chain and market data from multiple venues to power research, trading, risk management, and compliance. Amber Data delivers comprehensive data and insights into blockchain networks, crypto markets, and decentralized finance, empowering financial institutions to apply traditional finance methods to digital assets. Amber Data eliminates the infrastructure setup, integration challenges, and maintenance headaches to access digital asset data, reducing cost and time to market to enter the digital asset class. Learn more and download their digital asset data guide at www.amberdata.io. You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.